Mama, they try and break me. Well, that failed. Right, let's get into some news. Poland this week took massive action against big tech, and they are going to fine them $13 million per censored post. And the Deputy Polish Justice Minister, Sebastian Kaleta, unleashed on big tech this week, saying they've been targeting conservatives, Christianity and traditional values for too long, and the Polish government has had enough. One hopes they carry it through. Meanwhile, a three-judge court in Peru has ruled that the COVID-19 pandemic was started by billionaires Gates, Soros and Rockefeller. Oops. And despite the ruling, fiction checkers concluded that the Peruvian court has no evidence to make such a judgment, citing declaration from the World Horror Organization and the CDC, both of whom have lost all credibility. And they seem to be forgetting the convenient fact that fiction checkers have no credibility to check facts either. Oh, the irony. They are self-appointed jackasses with no desire for balanced or fair evidence, only distorting it into lies, and when that doesn't work, ban everything. Childlike and infant levels of interaction. And then we got a report this week as Texas Utilities tries to take advantage of the storms this past week by changing the price of electricity from $26 per megawatt to $8,800, sending a bill from $660 to near $17,000. And people accept this? Hopefully not. The UK government is set to review when social distancing measures could be scrapped as part of a lockdown easing, they said. And under the roadmap, limited social mixing indoors will be allowed from May 17th. There's that magic calendar that the virus has again. And ministers will review whether people can hug their loved ones at that time. Who'd have believed it 12 months ago that you have to get approval to get a hug from your loved one, from the government? Yeah. Indoor gatherings of 6 people will not be permitted until step 3, not before May 17th, when 30-strong outdoor gatherings will be allowed. Also part of the new directives was the decision to send the children back to school on March the 8th. So, on the one hand, well, nearly did a tank then. So, basically what you're saying is, so on the one hand, this is a deadly disease and everyone must curtail the lifestyle. You can't be hugging people. You can't be mixing with people. And the next, they are using children as test guinea pigs to see if it's okay to fully reopen society. What message is that sending to the people? Are the people clever enough to think for themselves? One does wonder at times. Earlier this month, New York Democratic Attorney General Letitia James issued a report which reprimanded the Cuomo administration for minimizing the death toll at nursing homes by excluding certain fatalities from the count. Obviously went to Johns Hopkins then. And Cuomo's administration then revealed at least 15,000 people living in long-term care facilities have died of COVID-19. 15,000, which is nearly double the number Cuomo had initially disclosed. Common sense question. We were told that the lockdown was to stop people mixing together. And yet, aren't people in long-term care in lockdown permanently? So how can 15,000 die if lockdowns work? Yes, I know. It's common sense again. 15,000 elderly died in Cuomo's constituency is a dereliction of duty by those who are designated to provide care. And yes, Cuomo told them to accept COVID patients. But that doesn't mean they are obligated to do such stupidity either. And Cuomo and the health authority needs to be arrested and investigated as to why so many vulnerable elderly people died unnecessarily under their watch. Republicans have jumped on the bandwagon of Cuomo. It's funny, it only took them 9 months to do so, because our show highlighted this elderly crime back in May of last year. Why has it taken so long? And they've ramped up their criticisms of Governor Cuomo this week, calling for his impeachment over the state's mismanagement of nursing homes during the COVID crisis. And the Assembly Minority Leader, Will Barkley, called on Democrats to back a GOP plan to create an impeachment commission that would gather facts and evidence. Just don't let fiction checkers in then. About the administration's withholding of data related to the deaths of thousands of seniors and other actions. And they said the Cuomo administration nursing home cover-up is one of the most alarming scandals we've seen in state government. Intentionally withholding critical information from the public, underreporting fatality numbers by 50%, and the recent revelation they hid the truth to avoid a federal Department of Justice investigation are among the factors that raised the serious possibility of criminality. The government and top officials have been bombarded by criticism in recent weeks as state lawyers prepare to strip him of his pandemic powers, and federal authorities probe the administration's handling of nursing home data. Now, last week, a top Cuomo aide conceded the administration withheld the total nursing home death toll from state lawmakers out of fear it would be used against the state by the Trump administration. And the governor has since sought to clarify those remarks, saying that a federal Department of Justice inquiry was prioritised. Now, critics have long targeted Cuomo over a March 25th guidance from the State Department of Health requiring facilities to accept COVID-19 patients as long as they had the ability to care for them. The care centres should have said no. They're there to protect those that are in the facility. And the current uproar was sparked by the Attorney General Letitia James over the unreporting of the number of deaths by 50%. Now, in the wake of that report, a court ruling ordered the state release additional data, and officials admitted the number of nursing home and long-term care facility residents who died during the pandemic is more than 15,000, not the 8,500 previously reported by the state. and the Albany Times Union first reported news of a probe being conducted by federal prosecutors in Brooklyn. It should have been done in May or June of last year. And it's unclear how or if the inquiry is connected to the Department of Justice request for information about nursing home deaths made last year. And they said, according to Cuomo's senior advisor, we have been cooperating with them and we will continue, he said on Wednesday. And Democrats in both the Senate and Assembly are preparing to vote on measures of scaling back Cuomo's executive authority during the emergency, but Republicans who have repeatedly called on their counterparts across the aisle to issue subpoenas and hold hearings say more should be done to hold the administration accountable. And Barkley said Conservatives in both chambers are introducing a resolution establishing the temporary Joint Legislative Committee on investigating the state's response to the COVID-19 pandemic in nursing homes. And the committee would be tasked with examining the state's methods of administration and conduct in all matters relating to nursing homes and long-term care facilities during the pandemic. The question remains is, will Cuomo, like Comey and others, just get a slap on the wrist? Or will he and others be held accountable like we the people are? Personally, I won't be holding my breath on that outcome. There are areas of global oceans that warm and cool constantly, but recently an unusually strong anomaly has developed in the Gulf Stream. And the weather in the United States and Europe, more so Europe, depends a lot on this ocean current. And it's so important that people understand the full story and the meaning of this strong anomaly. Now, oceans have a crucial role in the weather and the climate of the world, so every unusual anomaly is taken seriously. Now, the Gulf Stream is part of something much bigger and more powerful, so an anomaly in the Gulf Stream can be, and likely is, a sign of something much larger in the works. The Gulf Stream is and has been breaking down since the turn of the century, which will have crippling effects for the UK and the western side of Europe should it continue. Without the warmer Gulf Stream waters, the UK would have a much colder climate than they currently experience. The UK summers of old, I remember them, have vanished from 3 to 4 months of better weather, now down to a couple of weeks dotted here and there. And now they are also experiencing more severe storms as well. Meanwhile, in America, 2,400 cold records were broken in 4 days this month. 2,400 cold records were broken in 4 days. And this is also the worst February for snow on record. Studying of all the data since 1999 brings the conclusion stated by the Russians in the 1950s and 60s of a global cooling coming to the northern hemisphere. The US is considering introducing a monthly child benefit for the first time, which is a seismic shift for the country that has some of the highest rates of child poverty in the developed world. And the Democrats are hoping to include the measure, which could pay up to $300 per month per child as part of a larger coronavirus spending package. And Biden's spokeswoman this week repeated that the current plans are focused on emergency funding although he didn't say where the funding was coming from, rather than a more permanent shift. Now, anti-poverty advocates who have pushed for a monthly benefit for years hope inserting such a programme temporarily will lay the groundwork for a more lasting change. And they said it is an emergency and not a temporary one, according to Michelle Dalfiore, who is Senior Vice President for Budget and Tax at First Focus on Children, which is a children's advocacy group in Washington. And she said child poverty in this country has been persistently high, and once we get a programme into place and iron out those wrinkles, then we're going to keep pushing to make sure that it's permanent. Now, under the plan, the tax credit would increase to allow families to receive up to $3,600 per child under the age of 6 and up to $3,000 for children under the age of 18. And the benefits intended to be accessed monthly would be available to those with no and low incomes and phase out for single-parent families who are earning more than $75,000 or $150,000 for a couple. Now, supporters on the left, whatever that means, says expanding the benefits and making it available monthly could cut the child poverty rate, which was roughly 15% before the pandemic, actually it was higher, by more than 40%, which would lift 4 million children out of poverty. The harsh truth is, and this is the real facts, 1 in 6 American children live below the poverty line. 1 in 6. So in an average class of 30 children, 5 are living in poverty. I said this recently and it still applies, having listened about the elderly scandal. And now this. A society who neglects its children and the elderly is destined to fail.